Welcome back. You're watching the ET Money Show with me, Kavita Thapliyal. India's UPI has ushered in a revolution in the digital payment space. Last year, there were over 74 billion transactions amounting to rupees 126 trillion via UPI. And now UPI is going global with Singapore's Paynow getting linked to UPI. The linkage would enable users in both India and Singapore to make instant low-cost fund transfers on a reciprocal basis. Now, there is no doubt that UPI is one of the India's biggest tech revolution. And to analyze this, let's welcome on board Shashank Kumar, MD co-founder Razorpay, and Aditya Agarwal, co-founder Wealthy.in. Hi and good evening. Welcome to the show, Aditya. So far, I think we just have you, and we are hoping Shashank will be able to join us. But then let's begin this round of Q&A. And the first question to you, because we have to decode how cross-border remittances work and which are the participating banks, the daily limit and the benefits of users, etc. So who can actually undertake remittance transactions between India and Singapore through the UPI Paynow interlinkage?
Right. So thank you, Kavita, for having me. So essentially what government has said that we will open up and link UPI's India's infrastructure with Singapore's infrastructure is called Paynow. And in Singapore, they have identified certain remitting banks through which you can actually send remittance to India. And those are, one of them is a DBS bank, which is a very popular bank in Singapore. And the second one is a non-bank entity called Liquid Group, which are the two entities that Paynow system has allowed to be able to send remittance to India. And in India, we have basically two different kind of entities. There are one set of banks which have been allowed to send remittance to Singapore, which includes banks like SBI, ICICI, and there's I think one more bank, Union Bank. In total, there are four banks. And then there are five banks which have been allowed to receive money from Singapore, which includes Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, as well as SBI and others. So essentially, if I'm a customer of DBS Bank in Singapore, let's say it's my sister and she lives in Singapore in DBS Bank, so she can just send money to me because I have a bank account with Axis Bank. So she can just type in my phone number and send money to me with an instant click, and I can receive up to 60,000 rupees from her from Singapore. So that's how, and otherwise she would have taken probably a visit to the bank, filling of forms, and only then she would have been probably been able to send money to me. Similarly, if I wanted to send money to her to Singapore today, I can just do that by entering a mobile number that is linked to DBS, and I can use my access, if my bank UPI app and send money to her. So it works like magic, and I can understand this because because I've personally gone through the pain of going to a bank, filling a form, and sending remittances abroad to relatives. So I think it's a game changer, and it's just probably just the beginning of the move.
We will dissect this further, and you might have to repeat a lot of things again since you answered a lot in my very first question. But I also have Shashank Kumar, MD, co-founder of Razorpay, with us now. Shashank, good evening and welcome to the show. Aditya just explained us the entire format of this interlinkage. But then now question to you is, because we are going process-wise, for what purposes can remittances be sent or received from either sides?
Uh, I think let's look at it one by one. So the first is migrant workers. There are a lot of migrant workers, which go from India to Singapore, to Gulf countries, and to many other regions of the world. And if you look at remittance, just the cost of sending money from outside to India. So for migrant workers, that actually comes out to be something like 4-5%. For every dollar that they send, or every 100 rupees that they send, imagine like almost 4-5 rupees goes just in transferring the money to India, and for the beneficiaries to receive it. So with this infrastructure, with this partnership, I honestly think that the cost of remittance can come down by more than 70 to 80%, and it will become much cheaper for migrant workers to send money back to India. And not just for them, even for skilled workers, a lot of folks who go for technology jobs, for consultant jobs and many other such jobs outside of India, when they are sending money back home to their families, even for them when they are going to banks or going to money transfer companies, even when they know how to use technology, even then they end up paying 2 to 2.5% as cost of remittance. So that's, I think, those two are, I think, major use cases. On the other side, if you look at it from India perspective, there are a lot of retail investors in India, and who transfer money outside under the LRS scheme that is there, right? And if you look at Singapore is a very good financial hub for the Asia Pacific region. So just from the perspective of, I think Indian retail investors becoming more and more educated, aware, and more global over time. I think we are, whenever you send money from India to Singapore or to any other place, on average, you are paying more than 2,000, 3,000 rupees for one wire transfer. With this infrastructure, I think it will become easier to send money abroad, and it will encourage more investors on the Indian side.
We are going to talk more on the benefit part, but Aditya, could you also once again tell me the participating banks in India and Singapore?
So in Singapore, there are two banks participating. One is DBS Bank, and second is a non-financial group called Liquid Group. And in India, you have your largest bank, SBI Bank, participating. You have Axis Bank and ICICI Bank participating in private sector, and you also have one more public sector bank, Union Bank, which is participating in this sort of pilot program with UPI and Paynow integration.
Shashank, so how exactly is UPI Paynow interlinkage facility going to benefit users? Because I know you explained major part of it already, but like for example, to add a beneficiary for the first time, it takes ages. Are we talking about a real-time addition and real-time money transfer over here? And it's just going to be person to person, P2P, or it can also be B2C or any other way of money transfer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think that we are envisaging like more real-time beneficiary addition and transfer. The limits are also designed like that, and over time, I think as the pilot becomes more successful, I think we can maybe look at increasing the limits as well. And today, what is going live is a P2P transfer, but in future, as the pilot becomes successful and everyone gains more confidence on the system, we will very much open it up for commerce payments, for business payments as well, and then you can imagine that Indian tourists going outside, going to Singapore and over time to other countries, they will be able to pay local businesses in those countries, just using UPI, using the form factor that they use domestically. And I think that will be very encouraging. That will be very beneficial instead of relying on forex cards and prepaid cards and other such instruments. Just the familiarity of UPI as being that is known to all of us as Indians, I think is really, really good. And the other way around as well, more and more, as slowly we are opening up UPI for NRIs, for a lot of tourists coming to India from abroad with the latest guidelines change that have been rolled out. So even people coming from G20 countries to India can, start paying to Indian businesses via UPI. So that will also again encourage a lot more payments. And you have to imagine, like, a lot of tourists travel to India today. Okay, and today most of the businesses in the country have QR codes, right? So you have millions of businesses in the country having QR codes, but there is no way for tourists coming from abroad to pay to them other than the traditional form factor of cash or otherwise cards that are there. With this move, it will allow everyone coming from outside to experience the goodness of UPI, right? So everyone outside hears about how good UPI is, but they don't still experience it. This will allow all the people outside India to experience the goodness of UPI and leverage it to pay to all the Indian businesses.
Aditya, what apps are we talking about? What kind of apps or platforms can be used for receiving and sending money from India to Singapore?
I think to begin with, it will be mostly bank apps. So if
Okay.
for example, if I have an OK Axis handle with Axis Bank, then I can use my Axis Bank app for receiving or sending remittances. But I think over time, it's very natural that it will get available on other UPI platforms as well. But as of today, I have to be on my bank app to be able to do these UPI transactions, cross-border UPI transactions.
Shashank, would you be able to throw some light on the kind of technology that's been used over here?
I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think technology is very simple, right? That essentially you have NPCI, which has built this. So just imagine this, right? So if you have a visa on your debit card or credit card, right? If you're traveling abroad, you don't worry because you know that your visa will take care of any payment that needs to move from your bank account in India to a beneficiary, let's say in Europe or in the US. So the same kind of technology is sort of being used here. And I think a step ahead because NPCI has brought on 382, 384 banks on the same platform. So we are talking about a real-time settlement platform, a real-time window to Indian banking system through a single beneficiary ID. So I think that technology which we currently sort of use between us as Indians, that same technology is being exposed to participants in cross-border remittance ecosystem to begin with.
Shashank?
That the technology that we are very familiar with, which is mobile internet, those are the building blocks for making this happen. So even today, if you are looking to remit money back to India, for a lot of workers abroad, they have to go to their bank branches to make it happen. There's still not very good mobile form factors to enable remittance, and this is a very good step in that direction, that you cut down on red tape, you cut down on form filling, and enable remittance through the existing form factors that people are used to, through the existing technologies that people are used to. And that's what enables UPI to bring so much power to the in the hands of common man.
Sure. Aditya, what's the daily transaction limit, considering that it's a global platform now?
I think right now it's 60,000 rupees. So, which I think Shashank mentioned, it's a good move. I'm glad that we started at least with 60,000 rupees. That's a decent amount to begin with. But as we have seen I think that's one good thing about our regulator, that we start with something with, right sort of pilot, but then we grow it as we see this platform stabilizing and the use cases stabilizing.
Shashank, now if I don't have a UPI ID, not registered with the same bank, can I still have access to this facility?
Yeah, absolutely. You can have
Okay.
your bank account in any of the banks that are there,
Hmm.
and you can use the banking app of any of the provider. And in future, I'm sure we'll have Google Pay and Phone Pay and the likes also coming on the platform, right? So you can have bank account with any of the banks that are there, and you can use any of the banking app. The fact that UPI is an interoperable system is what enables you to use any mobile app of your choice which supports UPI, and make a transaction.
Even if my UPI ID is not registered with the same bank.
Yeah, as of today, if I'm an Axis Bank, yeah, if
Sure.
I'm if I have an Axis Bank handle, but I'm not a banking customer of Axis Bank,
Hmm.
I will not be able to participate in the cross-border UPI as of today. So as
Now
of today, my bank account handle, my UPI handle and my bank account should match.
should
So
match.
with my UPI provider, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I got it. So now one question that remains in my mind is the security angle, because we know the use of UPI is really, people are really using it. It's in trend these days, but so are the UPI scams and frauds also. What should be your safety angle over here? Shashank, you first.
See, I think people, are already very familiar with the platform, right? So there is ease of usage in that sense. See, the biggest security factor that people have to always worry about is that they are transferring money to a beneficiary that they know about, right? That they have verified that, hey, this is the real beneficiary that I am transferring to on the other end. They don't transfer to someone whom they don't know, or whom they have just met, right? Because that's where a lot of issues come around, that the money leakage happens, right? But the basic technology is such that you have, whenever you link your bank account with your mobile, you send an SMS for that, and you do a mobile linking, so that ensures that you can only initiate transactions from your mobile. The transactions cannot be initiated from any other mobile number that is there. Your mobile number needs to be linked with your bank account, so that takes care of the identity, that takes care of ensuring that you are the one who are doing the transaction. And another thing is that at the time of transaction, you always have to enter the PIN as well. So that again takes care that nobody else can use your mobile to make that payment happen without knowing the PIN. So these are the basic security measures that are in place that ensure that you can very easily do the transaction without worrying about any loopholes in between.
Aditya?
The beauty of UPI system is that it's simple to use, but the security behind is well thought, well architected, and as Shashank said, that essentially at a device level, I'm securing that the device belongs to me, because when I'm linking the UPI account, the SMS goes from my device. So at the device level itself, it's getting linked. And then secondly, every time I initiate a transaction, I have to enter a PIN that was set by me, right? So do that way, it's so simple to use, but at the same time very secure as a network. And today, personally, that's why I'm wearing a Nehru jacket. I'm very proud Indian, because the day is not far when you will have like, just like how we have Visa and Mastercard, we will have UPI logo on probably cards and phones across the world. So can't wait for that revolution and for that to see in near future.
Exactly, totally agree with that. And so India's UPI goes global. And thank you so much, both of you, for breaking this down and helping our viewers through this.
Thank you.